Welcome back to Concised ENT, an exam preparatory revision video with me, Kavit Tendral. Today, we'll be seeing an important topic in ENT, that is otosclerosis, also known as otospongiosis. If you have not subscribed our channel, do subscribe for more interesting videos like this, and as well press the bell icon so that you will receive a daily video notification. We'll go to topic proper. Here the topic is actually otosclerosis or otospongiosis. Here the one thing we refer is oto. So it is present at the ear. Pathology is at ear. Next, sclerosis, spongiosis. Both these two say the pathology is not a hard thing, it is a soft thing. Now, the actual site is inner ear. When we divide the inner ear, it is the bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. Sclerosis, spongiosis is soft. Soft, the pathology is soft, and therefore we eliminate membranous labyrinth. So the pathology could be at the bony labyrinth. When we see the anatomy of the labyrinth development, it is the otic capsule, then is the periotic labyrinth, and then inner is the otic labyrinth. This otic labyrinth is the one that is going to produce membranous labyrinth, and here now we exclude that this otic labyrinth is not pathology here. Next is periotic labyrinth. It's just a space with perilymph. No, it is not there. So the pathology is actually at otic capsule. So where at the otic capsule? Now coming again, the parts of otic capsule, it is endosteal, which is a very lining inner to the closely to that bony labyrinth, and then is the enchondral, and then is the periosteal. Now we know the bone. The bone is going to pathology, undergoing pathology, and we call it as spongiosis. It means one of these layers could be affected. And another important thing, any bone in the body is not formed as the bone itself. A bone should be formed from a cartilage, and therefore in these three layers, chondro layer has the cartilage part, and thereby the pathology is that the chondral part, enchondral part. What is the pathology? That is unossified enchondral part. Thereby there will be eye line of this unossified part, which is irregularly laid, causing spongy bone in the inner ear. This is the actual pathology, and therefore it is called as otosclerosis or otospongiosis. Now we know why is otospongiosis, and sclerosis is because one predominant histopathology type there will be sclerosing variety. We'll see it later. Now this is otosclerosis, otospongiosis. Let us now see the part of stapes for understanding in more detail. So stapes has head, neck, posterior crest, and anterior crest and base. Here the anterior crest is most important because anterior crest is actually in front of oval window, to be noted. Now coming to the risk factors, it is usually 50% hereditary, and it is common in Indians and white race. 20 to 30% will be a female, 20 to 30 years presentation, and that to a female. Remember, Meniere's disease is predominantly for male. I have to remember like Meniere, men, same word. So men is predominantly affected. Here is otosclerosis, female is affected. It could also have viral etiology also. Now this is an ear pathology, so obviously there will be hearing loss. And I've already said the hearing loss and the pathology is actually at the cochlea. We know cochlea, any cochlear pathology will present with sensorineural type of hearing loss, but here to the surprise, it is of conductive hearing loss. But how? Because it is based on the type of pathology, which we'll see now. Before that, when is this hearing loss initiated or worsened? It is because at the time of stress, that is, one is pregnancy, menopause, because females are more affected, and female undergo pregnancy, menopause in their lifetime. So pregnancy, menopause initiate or worsen the hearing loss, and trauma, major surgery can also initiate this hearing loss. Now let us see why there is conductive hearing loss. It is all because the type of otosclerosis. The commonest type is stapedial type. So we know stapes pathology will be presenting as conductive type of hearing loss. So thereby conductive type of hearing loss is most common in otosclerosis. There's also another type, that is cochlear type. Cochlear type is presenting with sensorineural hearing loss, as we all know, especially at the round window area. There's also another type, that is histological type. Histological type has no symptom and no hearing loss. Coming to stapedial type, even in stapedial type, one important part, that is fistula antifenestrum, is the most common type of otosclerosis, that is actually involving the anterior crest. For this reason only, we have studied the anatomy or the parts of stapes. This is the anterior crest involvement that is most common. Next is the posterior crest involvement, and then there will be circumferential, that is involving the base, and then thick plate will be formed. This is also called as biscuit type, and then is the obliterative type. These are all the types of stapedial otosclerosis. Next we come to pathology. As we already said, this is a pathology that is occurring at the cartilage part forming to bone part. The pathologies are here. So therefore, we know bone is like white color, and it admixed with cartilage, so there will be chalky white on gross. grayish lesion. If at all, there will be vessel, that could be a sign of active or rapidly progressing lesion, increased vascularity. Coming to histopathology, it could be mature foci or immature foci, or sometimes even both. In mature foci, I've already said it is matured completely. So in case of this, there will be fibrillar substance and therefore otosclerosis. So compare in mature and immature. Mature will have fibrillar substance, immature will have cementum substances. Because of this increased cementum substance in immature foci, we call it as blue mantle. There also be decreased vascularity in mature and more vascular space in immature type. Histopathology of otosclerosis. Next, coming to one important syndrome called Van der Hoeve syndrome, wherein which it has a component of otosclerosis as a triad. One is osteogenesis imperfecta. The person will present with multiple fracture. On examination, the person can also have some hearing loss, that is otosclerosis, and the person will have blue sclera on examination. This is a triad of Van der Hoeve syndrome. Next is, we know there is a ear pathology, so the person is going to present with hearing loss, commonly conductive hearing loss, because the stapedial type is more common. If at all cochlear type, the person is present with sensorineural hearing loss. The person is not hearing and therefore the speech is also affected, that is, his speech will be soft, monotonous. He is speaking but he himself cannot sometimes perceive, and therefore there will be monotonous speech. One phenomenon called paroxysmal vellicity. What is this paroxysmal vellicity? Already there is fixation of the foot plate. Now it is, remember, this is also called in terms of fixation of foot plate of stapes. So fixation of foot plate of stapes, that is the stapedial otosclerosis. So what is happening? This is completely fixed. Normally for hearing it should move, but in high sound it will move, and therefore the person will be hearing good at loud noise or noisy environment. This phenomenon is called as paroxysmal vellicity. Now if at all there will be involvement of stapedial type, it could be conductive hearing loss. If it is a cochlear type, there will be sensorineural type hearing loss. Also there will be disturbance in the flow of this perilymph and the endolymph, and thereby it actually causes vertigo and tinnitus, because this is a component involving vestibule and all. For balance is affected. Next, coming to on examination, there will be normal tympanic membrane. If there will be something called flamingo pink or Schwartz sign. What is this? There will be a reddish hue seen on the promontory that actually says there is an active foci. When we do a tuning fork test, it will be either conductive neural or sensory, as a conductive hearing loss or sensorineural hearing loss. Tympanic membrane will be normal usually, and eustachian tube is again normal. Now when we do a PTA, putaudiometry, there will be a dip in the bone conduction at 2000 Hz, that is called as Carhart's knots. Very important. And speech audiometry, usually discrimination score is normal, because stapedial type discrimination score is normal. If at all there is a cochlear type, there will be nearly 60 or more than 60. And tympanometry is of AS. Remember, otosclerosis has S, so AS type of curve will be present, and there will be no stapedial reflex in tympanometry. Next, coming to management. Very basically, the management is of only surgical. If at all we need to try to manage with medical, it's not. It's actually not a controversy. That too, it is sodium fluoride. We have already said in biochemistry, sodium fluoride will inhibit glycolysis, and thereby that prevents the metabolism of cell. The same principle here. Sodium fluoride we are giving, that hastens the maturity. The one point. And next is on surgical management. We do stapedectomy or stapedotomy with prosthetic replacement. What is the prosthetic replacement? It has Teflon piston, platinum Teflon piston, and titanium Teflon piston. These three are replaced. Coming to patient selection, who has to undergo otosclerosis surgery? One, a person with AC threshold of 30 decibel or even worsening, Raynaud's test negative, there is tuning for Raynaud's test negative, with airborne gap of at least 15 decibel, and speech discrimination score 60 or more than 60 will be taken for otosclerosis surgery. Now there can be complication where this piston can slip out, there can be hemorrhage, or there are other complications such as vertigo, facial nerve injury, and so on. Some contraindication of stapedectomy is, remember, if all the only 1 year is the hearing year, and that too is affected with otosclerosis, we cannot opt in for surgery. Pregnancy, associated Meniere's disease, professional athlete, and frequent air travelers, because the person is at the risk of getting affected with postoperative vertigo or tinnitus, which is an expected complication after the stapes surgery. The person who working in high noisy places or high construction workers can be contraindicated for the surgery, and young children as well. The relative contraindication could be otitis externa, tympanic membrane perforation, and exostosis. This is all contraindication for stapes surgery. So thank you so much for your patient listening.